Hello there, everyone. How you doing today? I hope you're all well. Today we're going to ask Reddit, what is their most disturbing, scary, or creepy true story? If you enjoy the stories I have to tell you today, please like and subscribe to the channel. And if you do, maybe leave a comment, hit that notification bell, and without further ado, let's get started, shall we? In third grade, I had this strange, short teacher called Mrs. Todd. She was always super nice to me in class. She would always call on me to do the fun activities first, compliment me whenever I did something, and was generally just very positive towards me. At the time, I thought she was perhaps my favorite person in the world. I remember even telling my mother about how much I loved Mrs. Todd. Anyways, one day I sat down at my desk and opened it up to put stuff in it, when shockingly I saw there was a Victoria's Secret magazine sitting in the pull-out drawer. The kid sitting next to me noticed how shocked I was. I thought I was going to get in trouble, and started talking about how it must have got there. Almost immediately, Mrs. Todd walks up and asks, "What have you got there?" I was seriously confused and told her it was sitting at my desk when I got here this morning. Well, she looks at me and tells me that the kid sitting next to me must have put it there. She kept repeating that statement over and over again to both him and me, until I finally admitted I guess he could have put it there. Maybe a few days after that, she approached me after class to tell me about this special field trip I could go on if I kept doing good in class. It would be a trip with just her and I to the Gulf of Mexico for the weekend. I remembered being very excited about it for the time. However, suddenly she got replaced at the school, and we got this new teacher that didn't like me as much. I was so heartbroken at the time. It wasn't until many years later that I realized how screwed up that situation was. It scares me thinking about it still. Oh my god, that's scary. She was obviously trying to do something awful to you that I can't mention on this channel without getting exterminated off the platform. Anyway, on to the next story. When I was about 8 years old, during recess at school, I noticed a bunch of other kids outside a storage room yelling and warning to others not to approach the door because there was an eyeball staring back at you. I was curious because I didn't understand what they meant. But I could see their fear was real because their faces were pale as they would try to deter me from taking a peek through the keyhole. I remember bending down slightly so I could get a closer look, and sure enough, there was an eyeball staring back at me. And it freaked me out so much I peed my pants on the spot. It was only later in the day, after I'd ended up at the nurse's office because of the commotion us kids have created, that a janitor had to go into the room to inspect what this whole mess was about. Turned out that somebody had placed a mirror against the door, and the eyeball we were seeing was our own reflection. Ooh, that's a creative prank. When I was 7 years old, I was walking to my babysitter's house all by myself. She only lived a block from the schoolyard. I had done all the time. This car pulls up beside me on the road, and the driver keeps gesturing to me to come closer, shouting, "Come here! Come here!" I'm frozen on the sidewalk and shaking my head no while my knuckles turn white, clinging to my backpack. All he says before driving off is, "Stay away from Christina," and then I never saw him again. Christina was one of my off-again, on-again friends in high school, along with another girl who alternated between hating me and being buddy-buddy. I had completely forgotten about it after a while, and went on being on again, off again with the both of them. In 5th grade, the other girl invited me to the pop machine in the back hall at lunch. Cool, okay. Quality time with a girl I've known since I was a baby. Sure. We get to the back of the classroom, and Christina tells me that people were playing with my lunch and hid my stuff, but she was nice enough to bring it back for me. I started drinking the pop I bought for lunch, and something was really off. I spit it off and ran for the water fountain to rinse my mouth out. Turns out Christina and her sister had topped my drink off with Lysol. If I drank much more, I probably would have been stupidly sick. The police were called and a restraining order was put on the both of them. It was delightfully ineffective, however, because the school was so small there was no separate class to put them in. They got 3 and 4-day suspensions. I have no idea if the two events are related, or who the man was, or how he knew how bad Christina was at the time, but that memory sticks with me to this day. I was around 11 years old, and I woke up in the middle of the night to a man straddled on top of me, with his hand over my mouth and nose. He told me to roll over and to not scream. I rolled onto the floor and tried to scream bloody murder. I say tried because when you're truly terrified, it can take a second to find your voice. My mom heard me screaming and came in and fought with the guy. He was 6 feet tall, she was 5'3", and scared him enough with the fighting and screaming that he took off through the window he had come in through. We never did catch him. And that's a freaking nightmare. Holy shit. I was outside playing with my friends one afternoon. We were around 9 or 10. We lived in a quiet area. As we were playing, we noticed a man in a truck drive by over and over again. Each time he passed my friend's yard, he would drive slowly. When we realized that the man was recording us with one of those old handheld recorders, it freaked us out. We ran inside the house and called his mom. She told them they needed to stay inside and I should go home. I tried explaining that my mom wasn't home at the moment, but she still made me leave. I lived about a mile or 2 down the road, and I've never ran so fast in my life. I was terrified that the man was going to find me as I was running back home. When my mom found out what happened, she was super ticked off that my friend's mom hadn't allowed me to stay at their house until she could come pick me up. Honestly, a grown woman forcing a 10-year-old into that situation is the most obscene part, so to speak. Like, that's ew. When I was a kid and lived in my old apartment, my mom befriended the downstairs neighbor and would often invite her over for coffee and tea because she was always so lonely. A few weeks went by without hearing from her, so we both go downstairs and knock on the door. It was like a movie when you knock on the door and it slowly crept open, as if it had been this way for a while. We walked inside and found her bathtub covered in blood, and the smell was disgusting. Apparently the lady's girlfriend left her and she couldn't handle the pain. My mom's way of comforting me was, "Don't worry, Mark. She was our friend, so she won't haunt us." Gee, thanks, Mom. My wife and I stayed at a small rental property in Bath, UK this spring. While in bed, I heard the gate to the property right outside the bedroom window open and close quietly. This immediately made me jump up and become alert. I heard someone trying to quietly walk on the gravel walkway to our front door until the motion sensor light came on. I saw a person's shadow dart against the wall outside of our room and instantly went into attack mode. I ran into the kitchen and grabbed a knife from the wooden block and stood at the front door ready to pounce. It was silent for way too long, and then I heard someone running away and the gate slam. My wife said that once the motion light turned off, the person took off running. I have no idea what their intentions were, but I almost stabbed the hell out of somebody that night. It still gives me goosebumps thinking about it. Probably just my entire life would count as a disturbing, scary story. My mother and grandmother were always extremely protective over me as a child. I grew up forbidden to visit friends or family, walk down the street, go outdoors by myself, or even cook and drive. It got worse and worse as I got older. I was 19 and my mother forbade me from having a job. She told me that I had everything I needed right there with her. I didn't need money. I decided that enough was enough and saved up some money from doing laundry and finding change around the house, swiping what I could here and there, and I had to hide it well. She would steal it from me if she found it, and said that all money was hers and hers alone. I packed my bags one day and tried to leave, and she actually tackled me to the ground and dragged me back inside with my grandmother's help. Had my phone reported stolen and took it from me so that I couldn't make calls, and slept beside my bed to make sure I didn't sneak away. She took me to a church meeting one day, holiness, and had the demons blessed out of me for 3 hours solid. No one would help me. She had them all convinced I was nuts and needed help. She even recruited a cousin on the next attempt weeks later, when I actually got a bus ticket to come and trick me into the car. Cousin told me that she was protecting me, helping me, but she wanted to talk to me first, shut the car door on me after I got in. It had a child safety lock on it. They drove me home and kept me isolated for a solid year before I could get help. Some of my relatives even parked their cars in the driveway for a while to keep me from leaving. And then there's somebody saying, "We need the rest of the story. How did you finally get away?" It was a combination of several things. I gained her trust back over time, got access to my phone again, and was able to get in contact with the guy I knew. A really nice guy who I was strictly forbidden from talking to. He was, quote-unquote, the devil. Seriously, she called him multiple times and told him he was a devil and needed to be rebuked. He promised to help me get out, and this was hard because she wouldn't even let me get an ID or anything, claiming that I'd use it to leave her. We couldn't contact the police once, told them that she had papers somewhere that said I was in her custody and mentally insane, and they left me with her. Frickin' Alabama. He, combined with a more trustworthy cousin, managed to help me save up some money in secret and sneak out to a waiting taxi one day in a grocery store. The guy and I flew to Idaho, where he had some family willing to help me, teach me how to drive and live on my own, and I haven't looked back since. Now I get daily calls, messages, and texts from my mother, saying I'm killing her and my grandmother, that they're dying without me. Funny thing is, I've seen pictures of her, and she looks like she's lost half of her body weight. She's a walking skeleton. And here's a bonus. I found out later that she had access to nearly every single account that I've made online for anything, and has been stalking me for years in secret, sometimes using my name. She's also tried multiple times since I left to get into my PayPal account, but it locks her out and sends me a message. That lady is fucking nuts. And the thing about getting the demons out of him, if religion allows this kind of stuff to happen, that's no religion that should exist. I'm sorry, but it's disgusting. Anyway, on to the next story. I'm in my room, sitting in front of my computer, working late at night as usual. I have to go pee, so I head out the door. I'm staying with family for a few weeks, so I try and be super quiet to avoid waking anyone up. To get to the bathroom, I have to go around a sort of left-handed U-turn. I've stayed in this house for a month or so every year, for as long as I've been alive, and done a lot of midnight pees. I know the way by heart. I go out the door, take a few steps, left turn, few steps, left turn, down the hall, and into the bathroom. I turn the light on in the bathroom, do my business, turn the light off, and start making my way back towards my room. I didn't want to turn on the hall light at this point to avoid disturbing family, so I'm basically blind. I feel my way down the hallway. Right turn, few steps, right turn, and suddenly, holy fuck, I swear I saw a shadow or something move. I stop dead and listen as hard as I can, still totally blind. Nothing. So I take another few steps and I swear I saw a shadowy figure move towards me, directly towards me, out of the solid wood door to my room. I stop again and feel panic start to set in. This is the creepiest thing I've ever experienced since childhood nightmares, and I used to have some pretty screwed up ones, like that my dad was trying to off me. I'm not imagining things. I definitely saw a shadowy thing moving towards me in the dark. I take one more step towards my room, close enough to the door to grab the handle, and the shadowy, creepy as hell thing moves towards me again. It's getting bigger every time. It's right in front of my face, inches away, but I can't quite focus on it. I start to seriously freak out. I actually consider calling for help. Sleeping family be damned. And that's when my nose bumps into the mirror that hangs on the wall next to my door at a 90-degree angle to it. Turns out I got really disoriented and never made my second right-hand turn. The end. When I was 4 years old, my stepmother and baby brother all died in a highway collision with a semi-truck. They parked on the side of the highway in 84 in West Texas between Lubbock and Abilene. They stopped to check on the baby, who was having a fit. The semi-driver had been over his hours and veered onto the shoulder and hit their car going downhill at about 70 miles per hour while they were stationary. No one but the semi-driver survived the ensuing damage and fire. Being 4, I hadn't been around him that much since my parents split, so to this day I don't have any recollection of him at all, but I ended up attending Texas Tech in Lubbock, and consequently drove past the exact same spot on the way to and from DFW to Lubbock. I decided to research the incident and found an article of someone who saw the accident and called for help. They lived at the house, at least up until the article was written and put on the internet. But they always described seeing the young family, my family, from the crash, walking along the side of the highway, continuing their journey but never getting any closer to their destination. Which, sadly enough, they were coming from Albuquerque to Houston to pick me up for a few months. I was actually at a loss when I found the story. I broke down, which is weird because I never knew this person. They are a part of me, and I don't even know who this is. I attempted to find the spot of the accident by finding some locals, who surprisingly remember the incident from the late 90s. I was able to find the approximate spot and took a couple of moments of silence while I was there, just to show respect. It's one of the stranger stories I have. That's the end of today's video. I hope you all enjoyed the stories I had for you. If you did, remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and hit that notification bell. I will see you all next time.